fares against Rare Atom.
My eyes will be on the AP jungle pool because that's not something that we've seen a lot out of from XBY. And on the other side, of course, we're looking at a team that has often relied on Xiaohao to pull out things like the Lilia and be a serious threat. It's partly why RNG have banned it away. Just don't give it up. He'll first pick it and make your life very sad.
Alright, banning away a lot of combo champions. TF for the gold card, Ashe for the arrow, Ziggs for the bomb after that point. So a lot of combos being taken away from RNG, which stops some of the potential like multi-team member setup plays on the other side of RNG. Banning away individual pieces from individual players in terms of how good they are on those picks. Xiaoshu, great Jax player. Xiaohao, great Lilia player. Thing is, you are potentially giving over Vikla or Tristana. You really want to give that over? So Tristana's available, Rumble's available. Those two picks, those picks never get through draft. So we're expecting one of them to be locked in. Maybe, okay, alright. Vikla might just say, take that Tristana, I'll take Yone into it and see if he can survive that matchup.
Yeah, they are certainly comfortable enough to attempt it. We know Vikla is a Yone player to mixed success, but certainly something he's put a significant amount of time into. Tristana being debated. Worth noting as well that the Rumble for some of our LPL teams can be a flex. We don't see a lot of it in jungle, but it has been done. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Of course, Tristana. Alongside, I suspect that Leona will come on through. Leona, another one of those champions that is very high priority here in the LPL. Xiaohao debating a Graves might be an option here because they've got the AP already and he's a big Graves enjoyer when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see the Corki into the Tristana. Vikla has been a good Yone and Illusion player too, but the Corki tends to be a better matchup specifically into that Tristana, which is why we've seen both these picks so much, because they kind of like even each other out, like with like power for like power. Corki suffers against stuff like the Lucian, but not, but can do fine against that Tristana in the individual lane. And yeah, because you already have that magic damage in that top lane, you don't need to go for big magic damage jungler. Xiaohao obviously very good at them, but you don't have to force yourself to. I wonder if you lock in something like a hard CC support here as well, or you could get rid of, you can get yourself the Ezreal immediately too. Okay, as we said, no need for the big AP damage from the jungle. Goes towards the Sejuani, great lockup for the solo lane damage.
It's also a great pairing with the Rumble. You have melee synergy there, ironically, and also you lock someone down to burn down in the Equalize as well, which can kind of suck. Juice will take his lumps and eat them on the end of a harpoon. K'Sante is someone who can sort of survive lane versus Rumble, but K'Sante does that generally. It's still pretty miserable, guys. Rumble is just a terror in solo lanes right now.
Yeah, nothing really answers Rumble. So K'Sante, what he can do is survive an impact team fights, which you just highlighted there. What I will say is that Juice is not necessarily a player I want to see survive lane and impact team fights like that, because that's just not his specialty. He's played better from ahead of the game. He's also, again, a bit more of a rookie top laner for RNG, so it's a difficult burden he's been given with Xiaoshu, who is a lot more veteran at this point on a champion, which is kind of straight BS. Going into the second round of bans, you can see that RNG banning away some of the better follow-up champions for RA. That Braum wouldn't surprise me to see them ban away a Rel or the Nautilus. Instead, the Tristana, the Renata, a little bit different, whereas I believe RA, they'll probably just ban away the brand at this point.
Probably. Of course, XBY, as we noted, not a huge player of those champions, at least down in LDL. That's not to say they won't look for it regardless, because they are just very, very strong, and that's not necessarily indicative of what the player plays, it's sometimes what the team needs them to play down there. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Getting rid of the Nidalee, XBY is a Nidalee player again, but so many of the players down in LDL are. Nidalee, Lee Sin are the two main one-trick options for the players down there. It's what people often cut their teeth on in solo queue and then try and translate that over into competitive play. Still need to see exactly what they decide to lock in. They are looking probably for a jungle and an AD carry, and of course Huan Fong, one of the longest standing members of this team, will be asked to play the Ezreal. It's a good pairing with the Leona, and it is a champion that you can take the game into your own hands on. That ability to self-peel and be an absolute menace has been very, very potent in the LPL of late. But then again, so is the opposite end of that scale. Miss Fortune's ability to press R, pretty terrifying in the current meta if you've got enough lockup.
Yeah, because RNG have that K'Sante on top side, they're likely playing heavier towards bot side, because you don't really want to gank K'Sante that heavily. So going towards the Misfortune gives you some more brawling power on bot side. You have the Rumble, which is fine being isolated up in that top lane matchup. I was wondering if they go towards a Rakan or a Rel, which feel maybe a little stronger in lane, but the Nautilus fine into the Leona too. It's going to be a big CC damage combo being locked in by Ari's bot lane. RNG, they have the jungler left to lock in, so the newbie on the stage locks in the Ivan. Very rare pick to see in the LPL, but we have seen a bit more of it.
Yeah, and again, it's something SPY's put like 2 or 3 games into, but you've got double AD carry, your first game on the stage. If you are being asked to throw something that paths a little bit more unusually, so it's a little harder to take out in that sense, and then on top of that, you've got double AD carries being asked to then do a lot of the heavy lifting for you rather than being the carry threat yourself, this makes some sense. See whether they can pull it off, because RA have got themselves a mean old wombo combo themselves.
My worry here is RNG have themselves double AD carry with really good frontline and shields. That's cool, but one, Misfortune and Rumble hit your backline through your frontline, so your frontline loses less value, and also you're still going into a Nautilus and a Sejuani who are very tanky, and you don't have much magic damage. So there's multiple compounding factors here, which makes me think that RA walked away with a better draft, even though I don't mind the double AD carry with the strong frontline. I just don't think they have the damage profile or the ability to protect their backline in the way that they think they should.
If they fall behind or the game gets stalled up before they can get to something like a Lord Dominic's Regards on a solid enough timer, it could get very difficult to do damage this game.
So, alright, that 3-1 in series. RNG, they've got the reflection of that 1 and 3. RNG, they kind of need to win all of their remaining scenarios, and they have to do all of their remaining series, and they have to do that with an unexpected jungler change. Geju suspended basically for saying, I want MVPs, casters don't know crap. Is not going to be playing today, and instead is XBY, who's been called up from their academy team. Instead, they did come off of a win versus Ultra Prime, but this team is still on the ropes. RA, they've had some ups and downs, but which team hasn't here in the Nirvana group? They're walking into this first game, looking to see if they can solidify themselves a plus 50% win rate in Nirvana group.
On the riff we go for this game 1. So much on the line. Ascension from Nirvana, potential reward here. The RNG fans, a little bit more organized this time around. Perhaps not a surprise to anybody who's been following the LPL for any length of time. This is one of the great organizations of the league, even if they have fallen on hard times over the last couple of years.
Well, yeah, RNG last split were, gunning for one of the worst teams in the league. They weren't quite down there, but still, in summer they have struggled. They have really struggled. So RNG, this has been one of their worst splits ever. They have dropped out of playoffs before. Once before, I believe there was a split where both RNG and EDG both missed playoffs. I think in 2020, something like that. Might have been a little earlier than that one, but yeah, we've seen both those teams struggle before, but to this degree, I'm not quite so sure. So RNG, historic organization, fallen on hard times. RA on the other side, not a team we've ever seen in playoffs. I don't think they've ever made that there. So for them, if they could get through into that last chance qualifier, that would be one step closer to some history they've not achieved before.
Yeah, and again, I'd have to go look up those numbers, but regardless, the point that you have to ask that question says a lot really about what the expectations and history of that team has been, right? It's not been an organization covered in glory, covered in solid results that come to mind immediately, and they are here having an okay run through that kind of Nirvana group and cutting their teeth that little bit more, to use that phrase again, to really try and forge themselves into someone who can make playoffs, can do something a little bit more dangerous as the split goes on.
I have a lot of like good memories of Rare Atom. One, because I like Rare Atom facts and I occasionally bring them to the table. Like I don't know, is it gallium, which you can kind of use it. If you put gallium on aluminium, it basically allows aluminium starts to crumble. That's kind of fun. Also, gallium arsenic is a very common semiconductor which you can use to make lasers.
I was just under the impression that if you put gallium on aluminium, you'd get a dinosaur. It's gallium aluminium.
Is that meant to be a gallium
Mimus, but with aluminium put in? Yes, Alex.
Can you tell we were dinosaur kids, folks? But also, our RA were in the first series of LPL that I ever cast. I think it was LGD versus RA, and it was Meteor versus Lien. By the way, back in day, it was just a year and a half ago. Not even.
So how many games has that been, Alex?
God, hundreds at this point. But it's Lien versus Meteor. Vikla gonna potentially get himself some jungle potential. Xiao Hao is gonna force Tang Yuan off the wave. XPY here does have decent early damage to the Ivern. It can catch you off guard. Gonna put those brushes in and allow Tang Yuan to have
Big L in the lane.
Oh God, I actually can't believe you just wrote L in. Could you? Oh my word! Could you imagine using Singed and Ivern to write messages on?
Oh, amazing!
How could you catch?
It's like skywriting.
How could you catch those players if they started writing like really rude things on the rip?
Did Sephiroth do this? Just
Did Sephiroth do this thing for Final Fantasy VII? Isn't that when there's the giant snake on
a
stick?
tree? Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to put like just murders Cassiopeia and just write and poison. Did Sephiroth do this? Yeah. But yeah, no. XPY on this Ivern, of course, going to be really powerful at putting shields onto the front line. That's one of in a lot of ways, Ivern is sometimes misrepresented as a person that only buffs up carries. He's very, very good at giving shields onto bruises as well, because if the shield survives through to its first round of its its cooldown, it refreshes itself. So if you don't break that first shield, a second shield comes in, which is very, very powerful on people who have enough resist in their own shields to make sure that they can kind of keep living through it. It means that he just empowers the front line in a really powerful way. I think a lot of people just assume that he is just the back line buffing champion. That's just not always the case.
I also think that a lot of junglers, at least from what I've been chatting to some of like higher-end coaches and analysts and players as well, feel like Ivern in general in pro play really isn't executed onto the highest possible level, because things like Daisy Micro is actually very skill intensive if you're trying to use Daisy correctly. So you're not just a shield and buff bot, you should also be doubling up at frontline at the same time. You have to be good enough to effectively play two champions at once, one of which is a frontline and one of which is an enchanter, simultaneously in a team fight, which is very tricky.
Could you imagine StarCraft players watching this now and just be like, oh, you control two people? Two people, is that it?
I know.
And then you look at Yuumi and like, you control no people. Is that it? Ult coming after Xiaoshu, forcing out that ult from Juice.
Level 6 spike.
Yeah, this is one of my issues with letting the Rumble go through. Nothing is good versus Rumble. You can survive, but that feels not awesome, especially for a player like Juice, who's done much better from the head of the game. So yeah, Xiaoshu getting himself a lead as a player who is very good in his individual lead. Feels like it exactly what RA won.
And that's a good use of that level 6 spike to do some scary things. Early Dragon goes the way of XBY. And I can now once again talk about StarCraft, because Flash is back.
That's true. I thought you were talking about the summoner stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that too, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Flash is back. It's like, oh yeah, no, Juice has just lost Flash, so he's gone. But yeah, man, yeah, I need to watch some of the history of Flash.
It's like a 70% win rate over his career. It's
so
mad.
The thing which is really the big baller move from Flash is that he didn't attend events so other people could win them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
That arrogance is remarkable.
Well, no, I think that, I don't even think that's arrogance.
Truth
I think that's truth. I think that in a lot of ways saying like, look, I've won this so many times. This will mean more to someone else. I'm gonna go do whatever. He individually changed matchups. Right now, he's learning the matchups again, and you know, he's gonna like have to relearn them again. Juice might just die here. Has all out. Might try and use Xiao Hao to get towards his turret. Gonna get
no! Misses the ult. Has to back away. Walks back into it. I have so many questions about that. Unfortunate Xiao Hao.
What do you mean by walk back into it? No, he got hit by the Q3. He got hit by the Q3, so he ends up getting dragged back into the turret. So the ult misses, the Q3 hits, he gets pulled back with the all out as well, and Juice just massively outplays it. Xiao Hao didn't position very well to stop the all out, and Juice gets himself a huge kill.
Massive, massive moment there in a matchup that was looking so good for the Rumble. It's rough stuff.
So, you have no flash, you do have your ultimate. The W is up for some tankiness, so Xiao Hao throws the ult in the wrong way. He gets hit by the Q3 and he gets dragged back. So it's not like he walks back, he just gets CC'd on the turret. He flashes out, but he's already got the tower aggro on him.
Yeah, it was when he flashed out, I thought he'd already gotten out of the turret shot, but no, there was one flying at that point. XPY, though, in danger, being burned down, gets a shield up. There's Daisy, another Q comes on through. Remember, Juice, though, in a danger position, the equalizer comes on down and burns him down. A return for the earlier failed dive could prove problematic here. Xiao Hao backs away. Q3 now stacked. Don't go anywhere there as the Antofo strikes used on the wave.
So Juice getting that first kill means that he is now pretty much even with Xiao Hao. That's a huge thing. We were talking about how Juice is not a player that really likes to play from behind the game. Most new players don't. It is a very acquired skill set, but XPY trying to punish Xiaoshu a little bit on the wave crash. Realistically, with a wave that size, you are not going to be able to do that much on that. So XPY his first contribution to this game is a miscalculation around this top lane wave crash and just dies to the enemy jungler. Not exactly the best showing.
No, a bit of a rough one. Will be burning down there, and of course, Juice, having done all the hard work, suddenly is punished once again, and does at least get to clear out the way before forcing that reset. So, we've got barrage happening towards the bot lane. Back away for a second or two as a plate is claimed by a Sumo on the Misfortune.
Assume on this MF course going to be a big part of how RA are going to play later game fights. There is a Leona Solar Flare to stop the bullet time through the front line. If that is not used on the Misfortune, pretty sure that Assume hits, 3 members and a Daisy, and the team fight kind of ends from RNG. It is a whole shopping list at that point. So RNG needs to be very, very careful at allowing, or rather not allowing Assume to get himself a big ultimate, because that could be series deciding or game deciding in this one. At least going back towards this mid lane matchup, very, very even between these two. I will say Vikla didn't play his team fights out very well the last time that I watched him play versus EVG. I thought that he'd be mid-diffing that series all day long, but it wasn't really what I'd expected. And to anyone who just came off of a really good series versus Ultra Prime, he was the main reason that they won that series. Could potentially see if he can kind of, again, upset Vikla, who's not been on the best form in the last couple of series.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, especially for a player who, at points, has been pretty well regarded, but again, he's also had those moments where he's fallen off the mechanical cliff, so to speak, and has really struggled. Again, I think he's showing alongside Prince on FlyQuest last year, where looked good for portions and then really didn't. The splits went on, really coloured people's opinions of this player in terms of what they've come to expect for them and what they can trust from him when the pressure comes in.
So, grabs the spawn, Xiaoho's on top side, Juice has flash and ult, so he should be safe, especially when he's full HP as well. Almost towards that Kinetic Rooker, and Asim might be in a bit of trouble here, but there's no bomb from Tanuan, so he can't do that much. It would have been a much harder trade, potentially a kill trade if the bomb would come through, not to be the case with that cooldown not being used and not being available. So, Xiaoho going to go towards this top side, get some extra grubs for the side of RA, RNG trading for that dragon, potentially on the bot side.
Like, still that's the 4 grubs mark. It looks like RA will get towards 6 grubs, which can be a little scary. Of course, on the other side, you look at the Tristana, who is probably the biggest user of grubs in the current meta, but her getting none will suck a little bit. But you've still got a Rumble who will likely have large amounts of shoves, and the Corki is not bad with grubs either, let's be real. So we'll be doing just fine at abusing that. But 2 dragons over to RNG is a solid macro point to be able to work around from RNG.
Yeah, because getting dragons in dragon fights is going to be hard for RNG, because the 5v5s I think really favour RA because of their big wombo. It's also worth noting that Daisy's a good frontline, not always a great frontline versus Sejuani, because Sejuani can throw her ultimate through Daisy. Daisy doesn't block it. So yeah, there's not a huge amount to be done in that one.
Seems to be as Fong will just be in this mid lane, clearing stuff up best they can. Xiaohao will find XBY in the jungle. You could be a little bit careful. You don't win smite fights against Ivern all that easily in the camps, because he just uses his passive and it's a sad time, but he hasn't had a chance to mark enemy counters yet. There's Xiaoshu again on screen here, just doing what Rumbles do, which is clear waves and get ahead in lane. Up 25 CS and a few hundred golds is always a bit of a frustrating guarantee, it feels like, from Rumbles, as Iwandi and the rest of RNG will Spodgeway trying to clear up a wave, who will hook away rather than into anybody there for obvious reasons. Move back to clear up the control ward he spotted a few seconds before.
So first item is of course very, very important for a lot of these champions, and RA with that Bloodthirst from Misfortune. For those of you, we say this quite a lot on casters, but that's kind of about building anyway. So back in 2020, this tech was used quite a lot, where that was the last time that Bloodthirst. Yeah, it was back when Misfortune had the Bloodthirst or Overshield. Was the last time that Bloodthirst had the Overshield.
It felt like it's so much sooner than
that's
2020.
Because remember, Aphelios on release had Bloodthirster, Overheal, and then also Mountain Solar points.
I thought that came in a bit later when people started doing Galeforce Bloodthirster, anyway,
Central Boss side dive.
As a bot side dive might be coming on through. You're absolutely right. Teleport onto Daisy to make sure they can get on down here. Vikla left out to dry a little bit here. Still has the flash, still has the Valkyrie, but not really any mana. Will be dragged all out and goes on down.
Takes a fair commitment. Juice teleports ult from Tanyuan, but they get themselves that kill. You are against 6 grubs, and because the play takes a while, this is the thing about grubs. If the play takes a while, the cross maps get that much more powerful against grubs. If you are slow and you don't manage to get all of your kind of objectives in order, look, they're taking a kill and 2 plates, maybe 3, all things said and done. Whereas on the other side of the map, Xiaoshu's going to take the entire turret, and also a plate fell in mid lane too. So RNG missing out on the overall cross map because it was a bit of a slow play.
You teleported bot. Tangyuan doesn't have a teleport of their own. Yes, you've got Hex Gates, but already that is a significant amount that goes down there. Of course, the gold lead individually for the Rumble isn't that extreme because it was Juice that picked up the kill down there. The problem is, as you said, this turret is all but dead. A couple more autos would do it. Tangyuan, the Ivern behind, clears out most of the way, but it's still not enough to stop the turret going down.
Yeah, gold is shared between Xiaohao and Xiaoxu. They would probably like that just to go towards Xiaoxu, but still, it's gold all the same. That'll help in their first big fights. One thing you will notice at this point, folks, is that we haven't had our first big fight of the game yet. Not unusual. It's only 14.5 minutes in. We haven't had big dragon fights coming through just yet, or any of the contesting grubs or Herald. They've been largely split across the map. I think the first big 5v5 of the game is going to save Bolders. Because if it's going to be a fight where RNG stop the Misfortune ult, they get their carries repositioned out of the Equalizer, and the Sejuani ult goes into a front line where the Kasance just presses W, then obviously RNG can win that kind of fight. So we need to see what kind of team fighting form RA are on to make sure that they can get a good bullet time and make sure they can get a good wombo combo onto the carries in the right place.
At the very least, there's that Bloodthirster we were talking about on Misfortune completed. 24 so for Huan Fong in as well. He's been pretty quiet so far, but it is Ezreal right now. Will be coming online as the game goes on regardless. The 2-item Spiker, notorious for 4.20 caster ever with that champion involved, but it stands, pulls away just for a second, and we might well be looking at a dragon fight in a minute or so with relative item parity.
Yeah, potentially. So this is going to be probably the most even 5v5 you'll see in this game. Whoever gets ahead from this one is probably going to get very far ahead. RA do not want to let a third dragon go over. They potentially could look for a cross map by taking mid. If they can take mid lane turret, that's a good trade for it, I think. But even then, you don't want to give over. You don't want to give over Hex Soul points. So Xiaohao not going to be able to stop the Scuttle take. Potential for Sejuani ultimate through. Tanyuan jumps into Fog of War, but doesn't have that backup now.
Try to jump on Dway here, who immediately turns around with a bullet time, does assume. Buster shot onto Dway, does not kill him. Jimmy, do you look to reset as that Sejuani comes playing on through Iwandi now. Chunk does a massive equalizer. Zeus just did that a few weeks ago. Managing to take out a whole team with that one, but no one dies this time around. Not quite enough damage, but RNG forced back under their turret. Resets will be forced by both supports.
Yeah, so loads of big ultimates used on either side, but no one's really come out hugely far ahead. There's no kills going over. Dway has reset now. He comes back out onto the map. He has his ultimate. He has his Zerg. RNG might look to fight again, but they don't have the Solar Flare this time. So can they reach those carries and stop them from team fighting?
Huan Fong chunked to half HP and the barrier burned. Herald summoned down towards the bot lane as Xiaoshu gets on in and will try and use it as a battering ram. It's a battle herald. Huge knockups on so many people. Huan Fong kills off Dway on that Nautilus down already, but the damage back is brutal as in goes the Rumble and the rest of the damage from RA. RNG on blinking health bars. A 1-for-1, but they cannot stand to contest the dragon.
Yeah, and we could get as excited as we want about the Herald battle tank, but it didn't lead to kills. It gets them the dragon, though, and that's the prize that they were looking for. RNG, they're teleporting in because they don't want to give this up, and Xiaohao is on so low HP, he might be forced to back off.
And now the HP bar advantage that RA did have is mitigated immediately. Double TPs come on free, and RNG claims soul point regardless.
We got so excited for RA in that team fight, but they get the HP bars, but not the kills. RNG managed to come back in, and suddenly Hextech Soul Point. RA don't cross map. They look to win that fight. They don't manage to do so, and RNG walk away with Soul Point and probably this tower as well. So
huge moment,
folks. RNG with the role swap with the substitute jungler getting a huge amount of value in the last few series. You know, at this point you think, oh wow, fantastic, but they don't have the equalizer, they don't have the bullet time, and that means they don't have the big team fighting tools. I feel like they just ran out of damage. I feel like
so close.
Also, maybe Xiaoshu should have gone for one of the easier kills onto Juice or something like that. Yeah, there's one kill there, but that's not enough.
XBY, Tanguyen, and Juice all sub 50 HP, but a last auto or two couldn't come on through and cost them Soul Point. It was close to magic, but unfortunately was not the full spell completion, so to speak, and RNG teleport back in, get that Soul Point, and now actually in a pretty good position in the game, only 500 gold behind.
Yeah, they're not that far behind, and considering that RA have been trying to cross-map more and more to get themselves ahead with grubs, that's not great. Now, yes, if they do win a fight, they get to go through. That's a big combo.
XPY's gone, taken out in the jungle as they were trying to give some coverage to Tanguyen, shoving in the top lane. Bullet time comes on through, and that's a kill to assume. They love that one. Kill the last play.
Yeah, they used that bullet time very, very loosely in that last play onto just a single target. I think RA should have had a wake-up call now. Save the bullet time for a more important moment. So the XBY without that flash means that it is a guaranteed kill there effectively. How did this start? They were looking for vision, and he ends up getting pinged by the Sejuani ultimate. No one can really save him after that point. Big old bullet time comes through to make sure that kill is confirmed, and now RA with a bit more breathing room with some topside vision now, because they managed to fight through that with XBY going down. It means that with the Baron spawning in 30 seconds, RNG are going to have to play the objective game once again. You can't allow the Baron to be kind of like taken completely off of, even if you don't have something like a Zyra or a Brand. You don't want to let that control go over for free.
Obviously, XBY has first item in the Chaos here rather than something like Redemption, which we often see on the Ivern, just to try and make sure that those AD carries aren't tagged up particularly by that Sejuani ult. But it does, as it stands, delay some of those bigger teamfight amping items that Ivern does so love to build. Will likely be at that Redemption point soon enough, I am sure, but it will still be a moment or two before that comes on through.
RNG, they're looking pretty okay in this game.
I know they are genuinely.
The fact that RNG are looking pretty okay, considering that they have had probably the roster moves from hell this summer. You know, they lose long-time jungling support, MSI winners in Wei and Ming. They have to get a replacement jungler as well, and then they have to get emergency substitute them out beyond that point. RNG walk away with a win against Ultra Prime, and now having a decent early game versus RA, who are currently 3-1. They're up to that Soul Point, so. Alright, yeah, they might have just come across a weirdly resurging team. I'm quite surprised at that one. We're getting to the point where, you know, 2 items with that cull completed as well on Tanguyen. He's at a point of power. Those flicker blades will mean that he's much more of a threat in a side lane and in team fights alike.
Assume also now at the Lord Dominic's regard, having picked up a kill, that front line from RNG is going to really suffer into a bullet time. Xiao Hao was tasked with face checking. Look at the flank from potentially from Vikla for some serious DPS. The turnaround is okay. Bullet time onto I1. He doesn't quite get the kill. Will still get XBY in the backline though. And now Juice is teleporting in, but immediately has to back away.
You can see that the Buster Shot very nearly killed Dre as well, but not quite, so it's going to be just that one for none. The Summoner spells blown by RNG as well, particularly that teleport, very, very powerful. So that's going to be 6 grubs taking down that mid lane threat. This is the bonus of the grubs as well. We talked about it being, you know, great for getting early gold because you can cross map, but when you win fights, towers don't exist. So RA get themselves a quick one off of that, and they get themselves a little bit larger of a gold lead, which they've struggled to explode in this game.
And Juice, having gone for the Cainic Rooker, really has, and Merc Treads as well, has very limited armor into the Lord Dominic regards to an auto-queued at about 20% of Cassante's HP there. The Cainic Rooker and shield being very much a lie.
Yeah, it's like, oh yes, it's a shield. Only for magic armors. Oh, who?
Yeah, I was like, hang on, what's this?
That's not great. I will say, I mean, I think Juice has played really well this game, considering that he's been put into a lane matchup, which is one of the worst in top lane right now, where Rumble just gets infinite value, it feels like. And he's gone for that Leandri's in the Riftmaker to make things even harder in the individual matchup. Tanguyen going forwards. By the way, Tanguyen, it's a kind of, or I think it's technically Tanguyen, something like that. It's like a, I don't know, look, folks, we're trying our best now, but well, it's a kind of dumpling. Dragons coming up. It's that Soul Point. Less dumplings, more dragons.
That this would be a bit better than a dumpling, I think, for all that dim sum are some of the best things ever. Down to about 3/4 HP. Dragon resets. RNG know this could well be their moment to win. Zenith Blade just wide way, backing away from some of the damage. RNG backing into a choke point can be so risky versus that Rumble.
Okay, let's see how much value the Daisy gets. Daisy walking up. He's going to eat that Sejuani passive, though, and it's just immediately gone. XBY misusing his ultimate. Now, suddenly, they don't have that. I want to try to get engaged.
Danger. Solar Flare comes on through, but down goes the Leon over the wall. One doing a lot of work. Knocked up by the depth charge. Joy will back away. We'll have that Warmog's passive to heal on up as Juice steps on forwards. Dragon still being started. Down half HP. Sejuani goes wide. Bullet time across 3. XBY backs out of it. Dragon secured. XBY couldn't walk through the bullet time to stay alive. Juice using the footwork to try and stay safe. Has to flash one out just out of range of the depth charge. Over the wall goes Xiaoxu, burning people down. Yuan flashing out but does not stay alive as the Ignite claims his life. Huanfeng has to flash. As the Harpoons begin to slow, Juice gets a Pathmaker, gets a decent all-out, gets a Zoom as he face-checks the tower.
So it means they get 1, which means that maybe Baron isn't a threat, especially with the HP bars being so low. But RNG, they don't get themselves that soul point. They lose themselves a couple of kills. They might be able to follow on for 1 more. They'll be able to stop the resets coming through from Rare Adam at the very least. But RNG, that could have been a game-winning moment for them. Instead, it becomes a bit of a disaster. The Daisy usage was poor from XBY. Once again, goes down very easily. The problem with Daisy into Sejuani is that the passive does the full damage it would do to minions, and it means that you end up shredding through that. Let's see if it comes through here. Like, Daisy's immediately dead here. And suddenly you have the bushes here for vision control. It's not enough. There's a pink ward put down. It's the brush to make sure that that's there. And then you still have your big ultimate. RA win this fight without having a great equalizer. The equalizer doesn't tag that many people. The bullet time is better. You can see how extended this is. The bullet time's not great. The Sejuani is not great, but the equalizer's not great. But the bullet time is rather. Sorry, I minced my words a little bit there. As bullet time minced the enemy team. Xiaoxu gets a load of damage down. Nymaera, probably the person that could have carried this fight the most. Goes down, blows the flash, so it's a compounding of errors there. So you don't really know why you path like that, gives over a free kill. And that's the only freebie that RNG get in that fight.
Yeah, I think his team will be going, oh, mate, I'd honestly assumed he had a good game. That one was just a bit brain dead, and the 3rd kill onto the Cassante. The world might have been a bit of a disaster so far. Juice feeling like the only member who's managed to clutch out a lot this game, still into a Rumble that's 1,000-odd goal ahead of him, because Rumble is a champion of all time. Mid lane we go. RNG trying to put up the battle lines in the form of some bushes and use those as a pseudo trench warfare here.
See that getting those quick saps through forwards to try and avoid some of the artillery. You get some poke coming through from Huanfeng. It's not like this game is over. RNG still have themselves some big item power points. However, I really look now to assume
hang on,
that's a good hook.
XBY as well. Bullet time afterwards goes across so many members. XBY is just looking at an X marks the spot and crossing his eyes as he's put in the dirt. Juice tries to go into the back line, but he's 1 versus 3 and unfortunately just doesn't have enough in the tank. That's 4 members dead. To the Baron we go. Rare Atom finding that rarest of things in League of Legends, a clean team fight.
XBY gets hooked out from the middle of the pack. Somehow he gets caught out, and the Ivern does not ever want to be the one who is the cause of that pick. Juice does a decent job trying to cancel out that bullet time, but it's too late. The damage is done, and RA find themselves their 1 combo they've really successfully found this game. So how the hell does this hook come out of here? Do the bushes end up betraying him? No, the bush is not even down. He just ends up getting hit, walks into the hook. It is a team sport trying to dodge out on these skill shots. See that Juice gets onto the backline, but the damage is done. You've already lost 2 people at the start of this fight.
Yeah, I feel really bad for XBY there because his front line split and he's stuck next to the turret. So there's not many ways for him to path. It's right at max range. By the way, he is the one that falls, and automatic dodging comes at a cost there for RNG. They lose themselves the jungler, they lose themselves a team fight. Dragon spawns in a 1.5 and maybe Hexol can right a multitude of wrongs that have occurred in the last 5 minutes, but they still need to contest for it, and the gold continues to balloon now. Significant lead for Rare Adam, about 7,000, a 3rd item for this misfortune. It's getting pretty dicey, Al.
But it is. Daisy used to face shape that brush. Again, the Daisy usage hasn't been awesome here from XBY, and that'll be something which we keep probably having to revisit in this one. He's now down 2,500 gold, and yes, Ivan can fall behind in certain matchups against the Sejuani. Not really where you want to be expecting that one. So, alright, feels like they've walked away with a fun game for them, where they've managed to just about make the hard way.
All right,
yeah, he's having a fun game.
Over the tanks go. They get a route down onto Iowandi, who really does not want these. He's going to back away a little bit. The depth charge comes on through, and a bullet time finishes what the rest of the team started. I don't think that bull party was one that Leona wanted to be invited to.
Iowandi also having a struggle in this game. 0 and 4, struggling to make the big engages. Not really been determining many of the fights in their favor. Instead, kind of just throwing gold over to the enemy team. Gotta feel sad for Juice. Juice has ended up doing a lot of work for RNG on that top side, but can't really do enough when this jungle support have been very, very difficult. He's also going to get taken down now. All that work means nothing.
Yeah, and this misfortune at 3 items against a team that's far behind is doing so much work. Hell, you got a 3-item Corki on top of that. Everybody burns. I mentioned the Rumble by that point. The damage is well and truly online for RA as Xiao Shu actually left behind a little bit here, but turns around the DPS, gets over the wall because his Buster shot it out. The equalizer from downtown leaves Iwandi out to dry. He's burned to a crisp. Tangyuan is kept alive, but at the sacrifice of his support, I do not blame Iwandi for that one.
Yeah, Iwandi kind of just walks in to die again, respawns, dies, and I think the Nexus will be going with it this time.
Yeah, Rare Atom, after a close enough early game and a dodgy fight around Soul Point, smashed the rest of the game, and the damage just comes on through. We had concerns about the damage profile as the game went on, and lo and behold, they may have come true.
Alright, not the cleanest game. I do think that some of the earlier combos weren't the best, and I feel like they gave too much over to Juice in that top lane, but still, a win is a win. They'll walk away with that one fairly confidently. This is still a 3-1 team, and they're doing the legwork. They're doing the dirty work, I guess, to get themselves up to that potential